Hi, Michael Yardney here in our series of Rich Habits, Poor Habits webcasts. And we're doing a series of 3 videos on the success habits of self-made millionaires. Welcome back, Tom Corley.
Hi, Michael. It's good to be back.
Now, Tom, over the last 2 weeks, we've discussed 10 of the many habits self-made millionaires have got, but we undertook to teach people 15 habits. So far, we've talked about the fact that self-made millionaires are the majority of the millionaires in the world today. Most of the successful people got themselves there by doing things differently to the average person. They consistently read, they exercise, they hang around with successful people, they set goals and then they pursue them. They get up early in the morning. They're the 5 habits we discussed in the first video. Last week, we discussed 5 more habits. That successful people have multiple sources of income so that if one gets out of kilter, they're buoyed up by others. They have mentors. They have a positive mindset. They don't follow the herd. They've got a crowd that they gather around them, and they do things differently to the average person, and they've got good etiquette. So, Tom, I've charged you with finding 5 other good habits that we want to discuss. What's the first one you'd like to tell us about today?
Well, one of the interesting things I found was that successful people love to help other people become successful. It's almost, I'd like to call it a habit because it is, but I honestly believe that because of their mindset, their success mindset, they're perpetually, thinking success. So they're looking to help anyone and everyone that is success-minded become successful because they know that they didn't do it on their own. This is a little bit of, playing it forward kind of stuff. They want to help others succeed because they were helped by other people to become successful. A team doesn't succeed with one person. You need other people. You and I are a team. I have other people in my office. You have other people in your office. We all have teams that help make us successful. It's just a rich habit.
Well, it is a rich habit, but it's interesting that the average person, a poor habit, doesn't understand that. So when I wrote my first book, Michael Yardney's Guide to Getting Rich, and when we've written our books about getting rich, I often get emails from people saying, why would a rich person waste their time teaching other people how to get rich? And that's coming from a poverty mindset. That's not coming from an abundant mindset, is it?
No, and I'll give you a story to hammer that home. One of the individuals in my study, one of the self-made millionaires, called me and during the 2008, 2009 recession, he lost his job. He was making close to $1 million a year, lost his job. He wasn't worried because he had probably $15, $20 million. But I said, what are you going to do? And he said, I'm going to wait a couple of weeks, then I'll make a few phone calls and I'll get a job. He called me about a month later. He said, yeah, I'm going to be working in the city. They're only going to pay me $350,000 a year, but I don't care. And I said, well, how'd you get the job? He said, I called one of the individuals who I helped become successful, who worked for me. And he said he hired me on the spot. He said, we don't even have a position for you, but you're hired.
Interesting, isn't it? It's another way of paying forward. So that's the first of the 5 extra new rich habits that we want to talk about today. Tell me another one, please.
I like to call this self-brainstorming. This is where you just earmark a certain amount of time. I use 15 minutes in the morning. And I just think about all of the issues that I face. And I just go over them like railroad cars. I let them pass in my mind. And I just kind of give myself a command. I said, find a solution, subconscious, to this problem, find the solution to that problem. And then I kind of let it go. And the next morning, I'm never surprised now, but you'd be surprised. You come up with solutions just by doing this little brainstorming. So they like to think. They like to earmark time, particularly in the mornings, first thing in the morning, to kind of do a little bit of self-thinking or brainstorming.
Well, that's interesting because when you first bring it into your mind and you've now got this there, if you let go and don't concentrate too much, in the background, your mind starts working and coming up with an answer, doesn't it, Tom?
Yeah, and let me tell you the neurological reason for that. The subconscious mind is about 1,000 times more powerful than the prefrontal cortex, the neocortex. It's been around for millions of years. So it has an enormous amount of bandwidth, I guess you could call it, many more neurons. So the subconscious goes to work. And without any effort, it comes up with solutions to your problems.
Interestingly, it's one of the rich habits of successful people. And it was actually written in Stephen Covey's book, The Habits of Highly Successful People, the concept of sharpening your saw, spending some time planning, thinking, organising, working on yourself before you actually start using your tools. So that's not an unusual rich habit. Another rich habit that you've mentioned is that successful people, as opposed to the average person fearing criticism, successful people actually ask for feedback. They look for it, while many people are a bit scared of it.
Yeah, this is a hard one, I'll be honest with you, because none of us like to be criticized. Even self-made millionaires don't like to be criticized. It's just human nature. It's just the way it is.
We're human, Tom. We've all got egos. Nobody likes it.
No, but the thing is, they make the difference between self-made millionaires and everybody else is they make a habit of seeking feedback. Why? Because they know that in that feedback there's going to be information that's going to help them improve their product or their service, or some aspect of it. And they're so focused on providing the best product and the best service that they don't care. They actually want feedback. They want the criticism. They're looking for it, and you learn so much through feedback.
Well, they recognise that if you're the smartest person in your team, you're in trouble. So it's good to have good people around you. And I think that's something I read from Richard Branson saying, why would I hire all these smart people and then not pay attention to what they're telling me to do? So you shouldn't be, if you're in business, hiring mini-me's who are going to just say yes, sir, and copy you. You want people to have a different point of view.
That's absolutely right. You need people around you who are going to tell you, Michael, you're doing it wrong. This is the right way to do it.
But Tom, despite knowing that, I still don't like you. Okay. Now, another habit of successful people is they ask for what they want.
Yeah, this is another, it's very similar to the feedback one. It's a fear that you have to overcome. The fear of rejection in this case, not of criticism as in the other case. When you ask someone for something, there's going to be two outcomes. It's either going to be yes or no. What I found is also there's a third income, which is also a no. When people don't respond to you, that's usually a no, right? So what I've learned from my research is that the self-made millionaires have gotten over the hump, the fear of rejection, and they ask for what they want because in their mind, I have a 50-50 shot of getting it. So what do I have to lose? The fear is there in the beginning, but when you make it a habit, the fear kind of goes away. You just ask for what you want. Oh, I need whatever. Let me call Michael. He'll help me. And you just make the phone call. You don't think, oh, he's going to say no, or oh God, now I'm going to be indebted to Michael for the next year. You just make a habit of doing it, and you'll be surprised what happens. 50% of the time, you're going to be surprised.
Well, if you don't ask, you won't get the answer. And it's one of your famous baseballers that made a saying, and I don't know much about baseball, so I'm really not going to do him justice by making a comment, but he basically said that you miss 100% of the shots you don't go for.
That's right, yeah. And this is actually a Jack Canfield, a big one in his success principles. Just ask for what you want. Don't be afraid of it. And he found that when he started asking for what he wanted, he was surprised at how high the percentage was of the people that said yes.
Funny about that. So we're going through 15 success habits, and the last one, Tom, is that they take calculated risks.
Yeah. So the difference between a calculated risk and, say, playing the lottery or speculation is a calculated risk requires homework. You have to do your homework. If you're going to be investing in real estate, you have to do your homework. You have to study the local market where you want to invest in the real estate. And then you have to really learn from the people that live in that community. You have to find out what the right price is. And then after you do all of that homework, and it might take you 6 months to find something that you want, and then you take the risk. You take the calculated risk. It's a lot different than, you know, walking into a casino and saying, red.
I've found that a lot of people, sorry, when you start off, you actually have to take risks. You actually have to put your neck on the line. You've got to put your money on the line. But a lot of successful people, once they build a business and once they build multiple streams of income, like we've discussed a bit earlier on, they then become less risk takers. They actually start to protect their assets, because the more you've got at stake, the more you've got to lose as well. So they don't stop taking risks, but they're a little bit more cautious. You don't have to take the risks later on.
Yeah, I think they develop what I call a calculated risk process, where they have, like, say, 5 things that they know they need to do. We'll use real estate as an example again, and before they buy a piece of property. So they go through those 5 steps. It's a process. And once they're done with the 5 steps, they make a decision. It's just a process.
Sure. So fantastic. There's another 5 great lessons you've just taught us. The successful self-made millionaires have certain rich habits. The ones we've discussed today are that they help others succeed. And they don't do it for selfish reasons. They do it to help others. But interestingly, they get paid back in many, many different ways. They dedicate 15, sometimes 30 minutes a day to thinking, to quiet time, to contemplating, to helping themselves. I like that habit. They seek feedback, and they also ask for what they want, and they take calculated risks. Tom, there's lots more rich habits and poor habits that we've discussed in our joint book, Rich Habits, Poor Habits. So if the readers are interested in that, go to richhabitspoorhabits.com and get your own copy, or you can get it on Amazon as a hard copy book or as a Kindle. And if you're enjoying this series of videos, come back. We do this every week, but come to either Tom's richhabits.net blog or mine, or on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're getting this. But more importantly, help other people. Pass it along. Why don't you send the message to others, your friends? One person you think would benefit from this. Help us spread the message. Tom, thank you so much, and I look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, Michael. Thanks for having me.